What is up, humans and mutants alike? My name is Kyle. We are going back through our old catalog and re uploading them onto YouTube in what we are calling Podcast of X Classics. So enjoy. Welcome once again, mutants and humans, and even the evolved technarchy. If you're so far in your evolutionary future, or your path is so high, you're so woke that you've already
The Ascended?
ascended. Yeah, you've already ascended. Welcome you folk as well. I'm sure there's no point in you listening to us emotional apes, but enjoy. We are here today talking about New Mutants issue number 2. I love the New Mutants run so far. What is your feelings on New Mutants so far, Danny?
I like New Mutants, but not for New Mutants. I like it for like the Starjammer
Yeah,
I like it for
everything
the Imperial
happening around.
Guard. Yes, the greater universe, the greater like Marvel I guess you could say space happenings and all that jazz.
Exactly.
Like that's why I like New Mutants, is a lot of that stuff. The New Mutants characters themselves are kind of individually, people like Douglas has its amusing sides, and like Magic is awesome.
Yeah.
But for the rest of them, I'm kind of just like, whatever. And I never really got behind the New Mutants comic originally. I liked the Legion stuff, but like the characters and a lot of those like plots were kind of campy from the 80s, and they just didn't really pull me as much as like the core X-Men team. But I got what they were going for. They were trying to be the new generation mutants. And that was in the 80s. And I came to a strange realization when reading this. I mean, shouldn't like a lot of these like New Mutants characters be almost like 50? Like
Yeah.
they were
It
a
should be
team that
old.
formed in 1982, I believe, and most of them were teenagers. Like I think the oldest one was like 17, and that was in 1980. So like I guess with the exception of people like Magic, who lived in limbo, and Douglas, who died and got resurrected, and I don't even know what to say about Mondo. Like
Oh
don't
my
even
god.
reference him. And I know that Wolfsbane Renee died as well, but still, like, some of these people have never died, and I don't get why they're I know it's that comic book like kind of trope with aging, but still I don't get why they're using them as this youthful team in the current X-Men run. I feel like this was a good opportunity for them to flush out a brand new young
To
group
start
of
new.
mutants. Yeah, like
Yeah.
an actual new mutants like should be what the cast should be.
I really thought they were going to do that. At least with one of these books in Dawn of X. I thought one of them was going to be a book
Right?
full of New Mutants.
It feels like a
Yeah.
missed opportunity, and you kind of felt like this was the time, like this was the moment. Dawn of X, for crying out loud, is your freaking title. Like what is the point of like really like hamming up these older New Mutant characters that don't seem to make sense? Because some of them,
Mhm.
like we get exposed to like a classic New Mutant character, Cannonball, like Sam.
Yes.
He seems aged, like he has a kid now,
He's a
even though
kid.
there's still kind of a weird age discrepancy. It feels more organic. The rest of them, it does not. Like, it just doesn't fit. Especially people like Danny, like, she's seen a lot of stuff, and she's, like, become
Yeah.
Valkyrie and all these crazy things. So some of them, like, their demeanors and their approach to being very juvenile almost feels like, forced, because they want them to feel useful. They're trying to appeal for that useful, image.
You think it's a step back for their characters?
Yes, it is a bit of a de-evolution for their characters in the way that they were trying to age their personas and their experience. Like, you want the New Mutants to transition into what would be, how cool it would be if the X-Men was just the New Mutants? Like, the New Mutants eventually became like the core
Yeah.
X, the natural progression and evolution that you expect them. Like, how like people like Jean and Scott go on to become people like Charles, like the leaders. They evolve to their
Correct.
spots. Like, they do that in comics with a lot of characters, and they age organically. The New Mutants kind of have stepped away from that in this current iteration, in this current volume. They're just like, no, we're de-aged. We're kind of we've got a juvenile palette put on us, and that's what we're meant to be shown as. But they still have the Eshlings of their history that kind of ham that up. And occasionally you're just like, oh yeah, like Robert DaCosta is a businessman, and he has been like of
Hmm.
age and in control of like a lot of mature aspects of his life for a while, as with Sam. And like, I don't know what to feel about Magic. Magic, when she was originally written, returning from limbo and becoming more prominent in the X-Men during like the Messiah trilogy,
Yeah.
she was very mature and gritty,
Oh yeah.
and I liked it. I liked it. Now they kind of write her in a way that reminds me of like kind of like a not heavy, but like a nod to like Harlequin, like from
She's
DC.
a tsundere. She's a tsundere. If
Yes, yes,
Yeah, so if you
yes.
watch anime, a tsundere is a girl who is very cold and pushes you away, and but she eventually kind of warms up to you over time. But
Yeah,
she always has that demeanor of cold and pushing you away, which is I don't know, it's interesting. And now it makes more sense when I call her a tsundere with all the kind of artistic anime choices they made in the last issue.
it synergizes. You're
Um,
right. That is seems like
yeah,
the kind of vibe they're going for.
so maybe that's what's going on with her. But right, she's seen some shit. She should be like very almost like stoic and like I don't have have time to deal with all this nonsense.
Yeah,
Almost,
like
you
she
think?
normally has like a greater like objective. I remember when she hustled the New Mutants into getting back together and getting Legion so they could go and kill the old gods because she had a vendetta against them. Like literally used Legion to kill like
Hmm.
Cthulhu essentially.
Yeah,
And that was dope. And I like that. This whole like digressing her into like that type of character arc or like arc or like archetype is it's just it's another de-evolution. And that's my biggest problem with New Mutants. But overall, like I still like the setting. I like the comedy.
hmm,
I like the nods on some of their characters. But there are a few things here that like just don't fit with the canon and the chronology and how the characters were supposed to grow organically. But I'm loving it. I'm still loving it. I'm still very like
yeah.
my qualms with it are so small compared to like the awesome like things that they give us and the way that the pacing goes and the writing. And I mean overall like you're really getting something that's still Hickman, so I'm happy.
It's Hickman at the helm on this one.
Yeah, but he's doing the writing on this one. He's not leasing it to anybody. He's like, I want
No,
to write New Mutants, and that's why I
not
can understand some of the canon like overlooking because Hickman does do that in his own unique way. He will fucks with the canon some, but he usually keeps it clean in the end. So I give it more of a pass, and I'm still thumbs up all the way on New Mutants.
awesome. Um, Penciled by Rod Reese. Rod
I
Rice? Reese?
think that was yeah,
Rice?
Reyes.
Reyes? Reyes? Oh, Reyes. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes more sense. Um, yeah, so are you ready to get into this issue?
Yeah, let's dive into it. It has like a real quick like recap that kind of really plays off of the pacing. Like I said earlier, it's a fast pacing. It's like
It is
it's
fast pacing.
it's like let's uses these quick beats to be like, hey, let's get you back up to speed, and we're going.
And here we go. So yeah, let's do this. Space Jail. How are things going for the New Mutants? Well, not great. Not great at all. So we start with uh we start with Sunspot saying where to start. That's okay.
We literally like it's like him doing that quick recap that I was
Yeah.
mentioning. Like he
So yeah, he goes into the recap and he's just talking about guys, I'm a businessman. I'm persuasive. I could get stuff done. And he goes into like what happened. We had to ride with some space pirates, um, talking shit, saying that they can't really do some good space pirating. Still using Mondo as pretty much a human storage locker.
Yeah, it was weird how he broke down like the preceding events. He was just like, I got the
Yes.
old crew back together. Before I left, I set things right with my lawyers because, sometimes I go away for a long time and a business can fall apart if you're gone too long without provisions set up. So I hustled some space pirates and that got us to where essentially we are now. But before that, we jacked this egg,
We got the
which
egg.
which is funny because they did the old switcheroo, which
Yeah,
I
they
didn't
did.
know. I didn't catch that.
I
Like
didn't catch that.
I got like kind of like an idea that something was up with what they did, but this was like their way of kind of revealing like, oh, by the way, we still have like the king egg, which is like that brood queen or brood king kind of waiting, ticking time bomb catastrophe like plot device that is now sitting inside Mondo of all fucking people.
Of
Oh
course.
Jesus! I wonder if he's gonna fuse with it because he can fuse with like objects, so or he can like absorb them into himself.
Right?
What if he becomes the king?
He becomes King Egg.
He was king egg, and like egg shows up, golden balls. It's just like, no, man, I'm the only egg.
I'm the only egg guy. I do the eggs around here.
And then they fight, and you have Mondo fighting gold balls, and I just go like, I'm done here. Like, I'm sorry, like, I can't do any more of this. You lost me at when Mondo fight gold balls. Like Hickman, I'm done with you. I'm out. And then
I
he
go the
lost me.
I go the opposite, Hickman. I want to see a one shot now, right now. Do it,
the,
make it happen.
the fighting event of the year: Mondo versus gold balls. Saturday, Saturday, Saturday.
uh,
um, but yeah, they totally put one past on the fucking Starjammers, which was great, and now they're in jail. And they're noting that like it's pretty much just your generic type of jail, but in space.
yeah, pretty much. They note that Magic starts shit. She gets put in solitary, but she gets out because she's magic,
And she can teleport, which
and she can
confuses me even
teleport.
more because like
Why are we in
why
jail?
why are they in jail? Yes, right?
Right?
They kind of gloss over that real quick, and they're like, "Yeah, that could have
Oh,
teleported."
I did
Moving
not.
on, I
I
bought the best space lawyer money could buy. And I'm like, wait, what?
whoa, go
Why do you
back.
need the space lawyer? Just teleport the fuck out. Like, how did you miss this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like I almost felt like that was a tongue in cheek thing for like Hickman, where he was trying to like, how Dawn of X, like the actual X-Men issues,
Mhm.
have like that campy like 80s sitcom feel since like issue one, where it's like the family vibe and all that, like it's like an 80s sitcom family. Like
Yeah.
this has that kind of campy vibe too, where it's like a sitcom, but like more of like a young, youthful kind of sitcom. But I think that's what the joke is supposed to be, where he acknowledges, oh yeah, she could teleport, but they're still in jail. Like it's like there's a bit of a fourth wall thing
So,
kind of going on.
yeah. Plus, they had to get to Sam somehow.
Yeah, that's why I look at that as like that's a comedic like plot device and not just lazy writing. Because at first I was like, "What the fuck? Like, why is this even?" This derails the whole story. But I'm like, "Oh, this is kind of like a Deadpool thing where it's like a joke on the fourth wall." At least I might be giving him benefit of the doubt. Maybe head of X, Hickman's getting busy and he's got a lot going on.
Sure.
It could be just something he missed, and I'm giving him far more credit than he deserves. But he's worked this kind of style of writing before, and I've seen it like kind of play out. So, but yeah, like we get Bobby here, and he's like, "I'm gonna buy this like real expensive space lawyer. We'll be out of here in no time. This can't fail."
Right.
Building up more on the comedic plot device that is moving forward with them being in custody, being reprimanded, and the orange jumpsuits like in
And
space. Even the cliche orange jumpsuits in a whole new universe that has existed, a galactic empire that's existed before the dawn of man, like has even
right.
happened, and they still have our orange jumpsuits as their fucking
It
prison
does kind
suit.
of feel like Rick and Morty or something, where it's just all like, or like DBZA, where they're just all like Space Australia. There's a Space Australia.
And Spaceys, gotta eat there.
You gotta eat space. It's spaces. It's good food in space.
That's where Jason's from, Space Australia. Oh, jeez.
How is that a thing? But yes, they hire the lawyer, right? And they go to court. And then, well, Robert kind of ends up with these just kind of, you can see kind of like his arrogance too this whole time. He's very cocky. He's just all like, I'm Robert DaCosta. I'm the
Well,
mean
he's a
street
rich
hero.
businessman. He's like thrown money at
Yeah.
all of his problems, and it's like been a like completely like a foolproof plan from the get go. Like, can we take a moment though to note? Look at that. Do you see those like jurors in the back?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's like one of them that looks like right out of Star Wars, like one of those Camino cloners with the long head.
It does. Yeah, I see that.
It's just like what the fuck?
The
I saw that
back.
right away, and I was like, oh man, Disney, you're just resting on your properties now.
Yeah, they are. They're like, what are we putting there? I don't know. Draw something quick.
They're
I
trying to
always
they're trying
love
to
those
tie it.
Camino aliens.
They feel the only way now that they can save the Star Wars franchise is if they tie it into their Marvel universe. So that's what they're gonna do.
Oh, nah. Star Wars is going to be fine. They got Baby Yoda. Everything's going to be okay.
That thing's a marketing goldmine. You're right. They're
Yeah.
gonna be just fine financially. Uh, But this lawyer had a terrible time of trying to negotiate like why they should be let off. They're like, they're
Right.
foreigners, they don't know any better. They're not from our space. Like, and the judge is like, they broke laws in
Yeah.
our territory.
Yeah, it's just like, where are we? Share space? Exactly.
It's not like we went to their hometown and like arrested them for like committing crimes against the empire. Like they literally are in the empire committing crimes. You got nothing. You got no legs to stand on, buddy. And then the fucking lawyer's just like, well, you got me there. Just fucking, he tosses the whole fucking argument in. It just says like, guess we're fucked. And it's just
Yeah.
like the judge is like, guilty as fuck. Boom, done. And that's it. That's the whole trial. Like it wasn't the issue. They didn't draw it out. It didn't go on in overtime, with like plot twist or anything. It literally was like one page of just like, yeah, they're guilty. They're
Yeah.
guilty? Yeah, they're guilty. Done.
And
Uh,
Robert's really mad. He's just like, somebody's not getting paid.
and this weird fucking like, I want to say like iguana-esque lawyer is just like, ah, damn. He's like, sorry, I did my best.
He's like the what's his name from The Simpsons?
Lionel Hurts.
Lionel
Attorney
Hurts.
at all.
Yeah.
That was some good lawyering. Yeah.
That's a good line.
Well, sorry. Out. But then we get that nice reveal at the end of like what you thought was gonna be just like a shit show, where you're like, oh well, then what's gonna happen now? Are they going to
Yeah.
prison? And it's just like, no, none of this really matters because Sam's here. They've been remanded over. Like the lawyer or the judge passed down his like sentence where they remanded like indefinitely to
Yeah.
imperial like Shiar custody, and the people who look over them are none other than Sam and his new baby mama.
Baby Mama Isabel Kane. Smasher.
Well, I guess like the current Smasher, because there was like a fifth Smasher that was like a
Right.
monster, but I think they just shared the name and not the origin.
I
She's
don't
the one that actually is carrying the current Smasher mantle that throws all the way back to the original Smasher from the OG, like Dave Cockrum and fucking gosh, who's that? Chris Claremont. Yeah, Dave Cockrum and Chris
Yeah.
Claremont invented the
Yeah.
Imperial Guard, so like the OG Smasher, written by
Yeah.
him. She's like the current descendant of it. Also a human. Which was
Also
weird.
human, and she's the sub. What is it called? She's part of the Imperial Guard.
Yeah.
Sub Guardian.
Only human to serve as like a current like Imperial Guard member. Maybe in the
Yeah.
past they had other humans, but from what I know, that's a rare thing. And we talked about the nonsense that's already kind of tied from that, because she's like from Ohio, and they
Right.
did this weird like straight up like kind of Green Lantern origin story where like it's like her becoming Smasher is tied to her finding the goggles after that current Smasher like crash lands and dies. It's so Green Lantern like esque in its like in its design, and then they have her become an Avenger, which was weird, and then now she's back in the Imperial Guard in Shiar space, which makes sense because like her being an Imperial Guard on Earth makes zero sense, seeing as Shiar space is like light years away.
Right.
It's like at that point, what are you even guarding?
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea, she's like, don't talk bad about the Imperial Guard while I'm around. That's it. Do you understand the backstory about her and Sam having a kid? Because like that was apparently like a couple years ago that storyline came to fruition.
I remember them showing up in New Avengers, right?
I believe so, because after the whole like fallout with the Age of X going into A plus X, then like all different Avengers, where they started shoehorning in the X-Men characters because they were just like, we'll force you to like the Avengers by putting the X-Men in it. Ha ha! And that still didn't work, but I mean, Cannonball got to become an Avenger in his own right, which was one of the few characters that it did kind of work for. He felt like when Beast transitioned into the Avengers, and it felt more organic, more natural instead of like fisted in. But yeah, I guess like they met through that, and then went on to have a kid at some point over the story arc that happened the last 2 years.
Interesting. I believe it's in the Infinity Run.
Oh.
So I guess during the Builder War, Smasher joined the Avengers, and that's where they met Sam, or she met, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Sam
her and Cannonball hooked up through that.
started dating then.
All right. Okay. So that's like all recent stuff, and they already have a kid, which feels more, you know, like a character growing up, and like having like a a palette added to his character or to their persona without them like being rewritten or something. Give a character a life-changing injury, have them have a kid, have them develop a relationship with a certain significant other. There's are ways that they can progress these characters' developments through natural storytelling
Yeah,
devices that feel fine. It's like, okay, you feel the history and the age there where it's like it's weird he has a kid because I don't know the plot behind it, but it feels okay. It doesn't feel weird, like
I
he's gotten
mean,
around.
yeah, he's been doing things.
Yeah, he was always kind of like, like the lead kind of like pretty boy type for like the with that kind of southern drawl.
Yeah,
So it's like, like the chicks were after that dude. He dated like half the New Mutants.
he did.
Yeah,
He
he was
did.
with Danny at one point. Like, I mean, all of them. Like, they got around.
Yeah, I remember Danny. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
got
were
around.
they were fucking all the time. They're hormonal and shit.
I was gonna ask a question. I already forgot what that was. Oh, her glasses. Do you know the name? The name of them are called the Exospox. Do you know the meaning behind that name? I'm always curious. Like, it's just such a weird name. Who thought Exospox or Exospox?
No, I'm not familiar with that one at all. Actually, I didn't know that that was like the actual name for like the glasses that her goggles that she wears.
Yeah. I was just curious. I've always wondered that why they were called that.
I think it
Uh,
was just some sort of plan. It's when you go back to a lot of these characters, sometimes they're a play on multiple words put together. And I
sure.
know that it's probably something to do with the fact that the glasses are used to like download radiation and store them and like utilize it for like super strength and just some sort of unique output that it gives to the user. That's probably like translated from what that means. Like there's some sort of tie to how radiation and how people interact with it. Maybe like that could
Oh,
be.
I'm totally reading this wrong. There should totally be a hyphen in it. It should be exospecs, like spectacles. But
Oh, that makes sense.
it's
That
spelled
yeah,
with
because
an
the
X though,
yeah,
so it confused the
okay.
fuck out of me. Okay. Weird side tangent on goggles to a random character that hasn't been seen for a while, but good to see her around for sure. Just hanging out in the corner, letting everyone know they're still prisoners. Bitch, you're still a prisoner.
Yeah, they're wards of them now. They're wards of the imperial state
That's
of the
great.
Shiar Empire.
I wonder if this means we're they're staying up here for good, pretty much, or at least for a while.
Well,
In
I mean,
space,
there seemed like that they were everything was going to be set and fine as the story progresses, but it does seem like they get kind of tied in some other shenanigans that keeps
yeah,
them in space longer.
yeah. Um, but yeah, they all kind of embrace Sam, and they're like, "Yo," except for Mondo and Chamber, because they're all like, "I don't know."
They're not legit New
They're not.
Mutants.
And this is interesting that they're making that like distinction. They're like, eh.
Yeah.
They're just like, and it's
Chamber
just
looks like Edward Scissorhands back there, like super
kind of
emo.
super emo. Uh, Mondo's just all like, man, this thing inside me is giving me weird indigestion. I don't like it.
He's like he's still traumatized about that time that he shared his body with Krakoa, and Krakoa put him in like a dark place.
Yeah.
He's like I still haven't recovered, just darkness everywhere.
And I wanna kind of note on this page, it's this, especially this last panel where they're all embracing. It's super rough compared to like, and that's kind of like the artistic style throughout this is very expressionistic. You're gonna see things outside of lines and splatters and whatnot. But look at like Danny Moonstar's hair. It's
It's
those
got a scrapbook
lines.
feel. Yeah,
It's what do you think? And like her hand too. Look at the hand, her left hand. It's kind of
yeah. It's like it's
it's
like you took a sticker out of like one part of the comic and like glued it onto another part, and it just forcefully made its way into the image. And yeah, that hand drawing looks like it was like the preliminary drawing when they're like getting like the general idea of what the hand's gonna look like, and then they polish it up afterwards, but they never did the
they
polish.
never polished.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still just like because it's got that blurry kind of fade to it that most like pre-drawings where they kind of have multiple lines, kind of like
Yeah.
giving like a blur effect almost, just
Mhm.
to kind of give you the rough space that you get to work with. And that's what is just totally conflicting the whole image here. Because at the top, the image works, but then you get this bottom part that's almost like the art style changed halfway through the
Yeah,
page, almost literally.
literally. Yeah, quite literally.
And I have another critique on the character portrayal. Like once again, like these are supposed to be like people grown up, like in their 40s and shit, and like they're clearly just a group of like teenagers.
Still.
And like Magic's persona, like her just being so giddy and playful, it's weird. I like it when she's more just serious. Not like serious to the point of being like brooding, but more of just like I lived in limbo. Like I don't the concept of being serious and like that kind of level of discourse is just common to me because of the world I grew up in, you know? I
Yeah.
grew up in a dimension, a hell dimension, and be chipper. That doesn't make sense. I'd be scared. I'd be scared because I'd be like, your joy is suspect. You should not be that happy for someone who grew up in like a hell dimension. Like, what are you thinking about right now? Like, are you thinking about murder? Is that where your joy comes from? So it's weird to see them like portrayed in this way, but that's just another nitpick in what still is a pretty good series.
Right. Um. Yeah. Yeah. But Sam, look at Sam. He's growing.
Yeah, yeah. He's about the only one here.
Right. So they're just talking, like, good to see each other, bantering a little bit, wondering why they kind of got in this situation. Rain's like, Starjammer's the worst.
Yeah, and Sam's like, they are, aren't they? And she's like, yeah, but so happy to see him.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, like how they get brought up to speed, and like they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, how did you know we are here?" And he like fucked with them by saying he put those tracking devices behind their ears.
Yeah.
That was a good little fake out. I liked.
Right.
That was a good little burn. I like that because that actually illustrates the like camaraderie and like the relationship they have as
Sure.
mutants. I at least appreciate that Hickman's fleshing that out. Like they do have history in that way, and that they do have an understanding with each other where they can fuck with each other and know how to fuck with each other.
Yes.
That's something only real friends and people who grow up get that kind of
Exactly.
dynamic.
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing. Like that's kudos to him for actually pulling that out because like a lot of these other things kind of make you confused about them and you're like who are these people, they don't seem the right age, some of their motivations are different, but it's like at least their camaraderie and like character interactions fit, they feel appropriate.
Mhm. Yeah. Dialogue's great between them. The banter's good. It definitely feels real, like they've been friends for a while. Absolutely. Um, but Sam mentions, yeah, we just got a message from your lawyer, and even Karma's just all like, she was gullible. She's like, wait, I think I feel it. It's in my ear now.
Yeah, she was freaking out about it because
Yeah.
he's like except for you, Zan, we put it behind your left ear, and she's like, oh my god. And he's like, dude, that's not we do the lawyer. It's just chill out. I like how they razz him about the lawyer too, because they say that the lawyer was literally like the worst one money could buy. And Bobby was constantly under the understanding that he got the best lawyer money could buy.
That's ridiculous.
Oh man. But yeah, like they pretty much all get caught up to speed on like
Uh-huh.
everything, and they're all pretty good to go, but Bobby's still kind of miffed because he's like brooding that him and Sam have drifted, and he feels like that that there's a little bit of beef between him, but that all gets justified real quick when his wife just decks him in the face.
Yes, it's great.
This is like, can someone knock some sense into this boy? And it just wham, and he's like, okay, okay.
It's great because it takes him down a little bit, but
Knocks him off his high horse, literally.
he's literally, yeah, he's been very pompous this whole time, and she comes in and she's just like, allow me, dear, and we just get a nice whack. And it's a great panel because we go from like regular colors to the action happening, and it goes bright red, and then we cut to him on the floor, and it's no just inks with a little bit of gray tones. It's pretty much black and white, except for the blood running down his nose. What did you think of the
That's
artistic
beautiful.
choices? Yeah, I thought
That's
it was
beautiful.
great.
Like that was
Yeah,
phenomenal way to focus like where the action's going based off of just the still
Yeah.
images, like two-dimensional still images, not moving around. Your eyes are bouncing like from left to right, to down to up, and you're
Hmm.
falling and all around. You can feel it play out in real time, just like wham, and there's the blood. And what a cool way to accent the blood with just that monotone, like black and white with one color.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. See, there's parts of this artwork that really work, and then there are parts
Yeah.
you're just like, whoa,
Oh yeah.
you got
So
kind of
much
collagey here. What's going on?
got a little crazy.
It's like at
Someone
one point, like you were writing it, and then like someone's kid came in and started fucking.
exactly.
I mean, that's a bit of a harsh burn, but it feels that way.
It does feel like that, honestly,
It's
in
a
some
compliment
parts.
and an insult. A complisult. Enjoy it. Oh, jeez.
And essentially, Isabel Kane is more mad about the fact that she had to get a babysitter that wasn't the regular babysitter.
They make her
She-
so the brooding like new mother like trope.
right?
He's just like he's all pissed about like I got a kid at home and I gotta deal with this shit. The lawyer called and woke the baby. You understand what I'm just that's so funny. All the time I'll dress as like an Imperial Guard superhero. Like
Yeah.
it's the comedy in this works so much just because of the scenarios as well. That's what's a lot of the humor really pulls from is just like look at this scenario, step back and really look at it, and it's just funny in its own right.
Yeah. It is great, and she even like takes note that like scrolls shock troopers are laying siege to Shiar outposts, and she's just naming like all these like things that are happening, and then she's just like, "But the fucking babysitter."
Yeah, and she was kind of remiss about those things too, because she was like,
Yeah.
people have the other Pooh guards there having a great time without me. Just talking about like this like military excursions in locations where people are at war, and she's
Yeah.
like, I could have been there, but worst of all, you had to fucking upset the kid. He takes that out on me.
Yeah.
You had to hear her cry. Oh man.
And then we get Sam and we get Sam and Sunspot, and they finally come to terms, and they make up, and they're like, "Yo, good to see you. Good times. What's up? My nose is broke, I think, but what's up?"
Yeah, I like it real quick. It was just like the trial. It was just like real quick, all the moments just fast paced. Like trial over, reunite with Sam, punch to the face, everything's good, we're best friends again. And moving on.
Yeah,
A little bit more
yeah,
of that weird art choice though. I still like it in this point though, where you
it
see like
works.
where he's got that kind of like dot gradient in his purple, but it's good to illustrate the contrasting
Mhm.
point of views and like the emotional spectrums that they're both rocking in that one panel. That
Yeah,
I like. Those are unique like choices, and I'm liking that.
I
I,
dig
I,
it.
I hope that more of that stuff gets fleshed out in New Mutants going forward because that I'm enjoying. Not so much the weird collage shit, but this choice I do appreciate.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely he's taking risks, and most of the time they're working. Just sometimes, just oh man, that hair. It's like I could do that. You want to see me do it? I'll do it right now.
That's a cakewalk.
Exactly. So and then they kind of head back. Where they don't really say where they're heading at the moment, do they? They're just
Yeah,
like we're good. We're out of here.
they're
We
gonna
out.
go talk to essentially Smasher Loots that they're going to go talk to someone above her in the Imperial Guard to try to get a kind of reprimand them here to try to allow their crimes to be redacted and they can kind of wash the plate with all this nonsense. That's essentially they're just heading back to their ship, I believe, is what's going on, or at least their quarters of communication.
Right. Okay. But then we cut to the Shiar Imperial Court, Star Sector 4 Criminal Processing Station. And it just seems like a copy of their kind of like their court case and like all their legal documents from it. But at the end, we get pretty much a little bit of snippet of narration or a little bit of narration. According to a prearranged agreement with the Imperial High Council, the above defendants have been remanded into the custody of an Imperial Guard to serve out the duration of their sentence, which is life sentence, by the way. The
Yeah.
court strongly recommends that their entire sentence is served, as while in custody, the defendants constantly displayed aggressive behavior and a severe disrespect of authority, and one of them tried to coerce and outright bribe every single officer he encountered. I wonder who that was.
Yeah.
The,
Jesus.
God damn. Of course he would. Of course he would.
Yeah.
The court further orders that the defendant's space lawyer be sanctioned for incompetence. He was literally the worst space lawyer money could buy.
Yeah. Exactly. Like he fucked that one up.
Oh,
But
he
it's
fucked that hard.
but it's like Robert's second mutation is just like, I'm gonna throw money at all my problems just reactively, like reflexively. He will just throw money. Like Spider-Man has his spider sense, and Robert has his money sense, where he's like, just money.
Yeah.
I like this though because this is more of like what they were saying with like a lot of the stuff that the Starjammers were going into and how they label them and stuff. Like this is building like a very distinct MO as the New Mutant for the New Mutants for being troublemakers in this like part of the galaxy. Like
Mhm.
they're gonna become infamous in the way that the Starjammers are at this point.
Yeah, they are. They're building like a reputation in space.
Yeah,
Probably a negative one.
exactly. They're serious in their Imperium. They're just like, hey,
They
like,
really are.
we have laws and shit, and they're just like, we don't care. We're the New Mutants. We're new, right? We get that new
Dude.
mutant smell.
You've been new for 40 years. Get
Yeah,
over
exactly.
it.
You're like that goddamn like fucking furniture store down the street that's like constantly going through like a grand opening or a going out of business sale. Pick one.
It's like a guy who was the new iPad still, the third generation iPad that they called new iPad. And you're just all like, well, 5 years later, still calling that the new iPad?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Oh.
So we cut to Shiar space and they're going through a portal. It looks like
Like a warp
a
portal or a
warp
hyperdrive
portal.
portal. Kind of like the ones that they would have in like Cowboy Bebop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about those. Yeah, that actually does. Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
It almost looks like almost like a two-dimensional pylon that you see in like Warhammer 40K or something,
Oh, you know what? It does kind of have that in like a Stargate vibe.
and a
Yeah.
Stargate vibe for sure. Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, it does 40K as well. Yeah,
they
definitely.
even say the word Stargate, approaching the Stargate.
Yeah, there you go.
Way to go, Marvel. Someone's gonna get sued,
Yeah,
but
they're rested on a few tropes here.
they received a Magister's encryption code and they play it. And who is the message from, Danny?
Oh, dude, it is the probably hands down the dopest character in the entire Imperial Guard, if not the entire Shi'ar Empire.
Absolutely.
Cal Arc, also
Keller.
known as fucking Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Oh.
It's always good to see Gladiator.
Oh yes, Gladiator's pimp as fuck.
Yeah.
Love him. He
Um
brings the trouble in anything he shows up in. He's just like, all right, I'm here to throw down. I'm Gladiator. I'm either gonna destroy this planet or I'm gonna destroy whoever's threatening like the Imperial Guard or whatever. 'Cause he's got that level of strength. He's galactic in his strength and power.
right. And what does he say? He's essentially saying this encoded transmission, the orders are to execute them immediately and with vigor. Who is he referring to? Are they referring to the because he mentions the Shara's and Kutheri's eyes for you find yourself and
Yeah,
exactly. I don't know what
he's referencing the gods here. Like he's
okay, the guy.
saying,
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah, so she gets
Gotcha.
everything worked out with the essentially with the hierarchy. Like since he's the magistrate of the imperial
Right.
the Shi'ar Empire right now, since like all the stuff going back to like War of Kings that fell from like, I mean honestly, if you want to go back and start to really understand what's going on here, you'd probably want to start with like Ed Brubaker's run of Deadly Genesis, because then that sets up the third Summer's Child, Vulcan. So when then he
Yes.
goes into space, you'll want to read like the Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire, also Ed
Mhm.
Brubaker, and then leads to War of Kings and all that jazz. And that's how you get to having like Gladiator, who used to just be the leader of the Imperial Guard, stepping up and becoming the leader of just the Shiar Empire. And that's still the current, like, well, by the end of this comic some things change, but at this current point that's the status quo for Gladiator. And so she pretty much gets him to smooth it all out because I mean she's an Imperial Guard member. He's both leader of the Shiar and a formal Imperial Guard leader, so she's got pretty good ties to him. He obviously knows the X-Men and all their jazz, so that's
Mhm.
probably the easiest way for her to smooth it all over is just be like, well, Gladiator says it's okay, you guys are fine. But at the same time, he's making his whole reference about like, thank the gods like that you're here because I have another mission that I need you to execute with extreme, vigor and immediately as possible. And that's where the whole story kind of takes a twist and turn. It's like,
Yes.
you think they're gonna be, pardoned and they're gonna go back, but instead the New
No.
Mutants are now on another mission that kind of falls under the purview of her being an Imperial Guard member. She has no choice, like
Exactly.
this
Yes.
is her duty, this is her service, like, so because they're still on the ship with these people, the New Mutants are along for the ride.
Yep. And she even has a great, cool 80s one liner here. She's just like, tell the babysitter we're going to be running late. Put, puts on
Yeah.
exo specs very slowly.
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. Dude, it was such a throwaway 80s line, but I mean, that's the origin of the New Mutants, and I guess that's Hickman appreciating that as much as possible without being too tongue in cheek. I can't hate it because I mean that's 80s cheese right there. So I mean, if you're doing a pastiche, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. It worked. Made me laugh.
Yeah.
We cut to the Shi'ar Imperial Advisors. We just kind of learn the structure of the Magister, the Mentor, and the Oracle. We know that Gladiator Calark is the Magister at the moment, and
Yeah.
we have the Mentor, which is the leader of the Imperial Guard, super intellect, asymmetrical problem solving ability, master tactician, and the which isn't named, right? And then we got Oracle, who is Sybil. Um,
Mentor and Oracle, well, Mentor and Oracle are very classic, like Imperial Guard characters as well.
yes,
And the Imperial Guard itself was kind of like also a pastiche in itself to the Legion of Superheroes.
Legion. I was gonna say,
Yeah,
yeah.
by Otto Binder from way back in the day,
That's
like
so yeah, that's a
like
throwback.
1957 or something. Yeah, like way back in the day. So like Kalark is literally like Superman or Superboy because like Kalark is just Kal-El and Clark combined into one name and his
Yeah.
powers and the way he works. And Mentor is straight up Brainiac. Like even the way he looks,
Yes.
Brainiac has the little device on his head and everything. So like he would probably be more an allegory to like Brainiac 5 who was a part, or Brainiac 9 or whatever, who was on the Legion of Superheroes.
Legion of Superiors. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because that a lot of people say like, oh, the Imperial Guard is just an analogy or like an allegory to like the Justice League, and I'm like, no, no, that's Squadron Supreme. Squadron Supreme is straight up the Justice League in the Marvel universe. Like
Yeah.
Hyperion is straight Superman and all that. No,
Yep.
the Imperial Guard is more meant to be the Legion of Superheroes. Even if you like Google Legion of Superheroes versus Imperial Guard, and they'll show pictures and like their costume design and their character design and powers and abilities, they fucking mirror each other heavily. It's funny. Like you could just see like where they got their inspiration from, which is fair because Cockrum and Claremont. I mean, they're old school comic book fans too. I mean, they grew up with reading the Legion of Superheroes and shit.
Right.
So this was just them doing like their chance to like make their love letter to that, which I can respect. I mean, I don't hate it because it's such a arrest. I like that they brought it into its own realm. It's like, what if the Legion of Superheroes met the X-Men? Like this is the what if that we'll never get
Right.
in reality. Like we actually get it. It's just they have different names. That's it.
Yeah, Mentor looks like Brainiac for sure.
Yeah.
Midget.
Oracle, I guess you
Go ahead.
Oracle, I guess you could say would be like Stargirl or whatever her name is. I can't remember. Like Starboy and Stargirl, they both have like psychic powers and
Yeah.
telekinesis, telepathy, those kind of things. Though Oracle's more telepathy and like precog, all that kind of stuff. Very powerful though. I remember when I first got introduced to her, it was during X-Men animated series.
Right.
Mentor, I don't think he ever showed up in that.
Did he? No.
I don't recall
no.
him.
I
And of course,
remember.
Gladiator was there.
Yeah. And Gladiator chose Mentor and Oracle as his personal advisors, not just to consolidate power between the military and intelligence arms of the Shiar Empire. He also chose them because they represent the dueling ideological factions that constantly pull at the Empire, expansion and consolidation. Nah, man,
Yin
we
and
gotta
yang.
grow. We gotta grow. Nah, man, we gotta be mad. We gotta isolate ourselves, mind our own business.
We need to look within. Like, no, we need to look without. I like that. He created his own little yin and yang. Well, I mean, say what you will about Gladiator in general as being like a badass, just like superhero like type character, like that Paragon archetype. He's also a great leader. Like everybody, even like the stuff they discuss coming in these next few pages, like they acknowledge that like, well, Gladiator works as the leader for the Shiar Empire because he's just an all around like perfect like person in his mind and in his power. I mean, he literally can't lose because his strength is competence based. So
Right.
if you can't shake his competence, you can't shake him. Like he won't be able to be defeated. He'll just keep punching you until you're nothing. Like Superboy, he'll just probably eventually punch through reality.
Right.
That happened in the Legion of Superheroes like story arc and all that shit. Superboy went crazy and like punched through reality. How that works, I'll never understand, but you know. DC gets crazy.
DC does get crazy.
Sometimes even Marvel looks tame compared to that.
Don't get me started on Crisis. Let's move on quickly. uh, where do we? Okay, so we after that we cut to them. I imagine they're on the ship and they're just hanging out. Rain's sleeping. Some of them are chilling. The rest are playing what looks like poker with weird
Space poker.
share space poker. Yeah, look at those cards. Those are cool. So they're playing. They're talking shit to one another, and they pretty much recognize that they don't even know what they're doing. Right?
Yeah.
He's just like, read them and weep, and he's just like, what the fuck is that? Does that even mean anything? What does this do? And they're all like, I don't know. What are we playing?
Any of these, like these symbols and stuff like that. And it seems like everyone's pretty much folded except Chamber and Danny Moonstar. So they're going down toe and toe. They're both all in. And Danny says, Chamber's like, I win. And Danny's like, no, I win because I played this before and I know this is a winning hand.
Yeah.
What does she call it? Like the full empire? She's like, this hand is called the full empire. And I know it's a winning hand. I've seen it before. And I look at Douglas. The only person who can actually understand these symbols is like, that's not what any of that means. She just elbows him hard.
Yeah,
and
just
shut up. I won fair and square.
This is mine. I don't need your knowledge, your truth.
And then we get a nice little scene where finally Sam gets brought up to speed on all the nonsense that's going on Earth. It's hard to like remember that Krakoa is a new nation and all this other crazy shit's going on when you're dealing with like a lot of this heavy Imperial Guard stuff and Empire, Shiar Empire stuff. Like a lot of that stuff takes you completely out of that story, and you're like, oh yeah. And they do it in kind of a funny way. They're like, "Oh, you got your own mutant language," and like, and Bobby just says, "Yeah, he did in Krakoa." It's pretty spot on.
Yeah, and he's just telling him how like the whole like system on Krakoa works, and how every time a new mutant gets joins Krakoa, their mind information gets uploaded into the database of Krakoa or whatever it's called. Whatever it's referred to.
Krakoan and so what?
Network thing.
Lexicon.
Yeah, that thing.
Neural lexicon. Yeah, I'm down with that. And then they're kind of like tripping over, or I guess they're kind of like, highlighting the fact that also there's a secret council and Douglas sits on it vicariously because he can essentially translate for Krakoa.
Yeah.
And then Sam digs into him and like, well, they never asked you like to be on the council at all. And then Bobby gets his high horse back out and he's like,
yeah, he's like, yeah.
Maybe maybe they forgot, or it's all right. It could still be, it could still happen, you know.
Yeah.
They always have. I always gonna have forgiveness in my heart. Maybe they'll come around to it. Oh, jeez.
But as it's happening, we get Isabel coming back, or before that happens, um, they're talking, and what are they laughing about? Oh, they're talking about the fact that he got punched in the face, pretty much.
Yeah, they're joking about it because like they wanted to transition back to like from like the awkwardness of like him not being on the council and just like
Yeah.
trying to move on, and he kind of like puts it back on them reuniting, and then he makes the joke about his nose, and they pretty much just lose it over that. It looks like a kind of a creepy laugh though, like it looks like something out of like a Batman comic.
It does. It's
a
weird.
joke,
It's a
like a
weird moment.
Joker's. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Sam's baby mom rolls in and is like, "We got work to do. You guys are off the hook, but the bad news is you're on the hook for some other shit."
Yeah. We gotta. You're gonna be put to work. People, you're now recruited. We got a mission, and what happens? What happens? Sam looks at her and he goes, "You son of a bitch. I'm in."
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. Exactly. That is exactly how that goes down.
I say that for everything now, by the way.
Well, that's pretty much the way to do it. Anytime someone asks you to do something, like that's just the proper way to do it.
Yeah.
Not even acceptance.
Funny. Good times. But on we land on this planet, right?
Ch-
And
Chandala.
do we land on Shindala or do we cut away to Shindala? I thought they land on some other planet and then we cut to Shindala, or are they both
I
at
think that's
Shindala?
them leaving or arriving at some sort of planet. I think that might be them, since it's like swooping inward,
Yeah.
because that's what I'm getting with that. That's them arriving on some sort of outpost.
Yeah.
Because she did make that comment about those outposts and all that kind of stuff. So that's them arriving. Then we cut to the Shiar home
The
throne world.
Throne World, Chandala.
Yeah, Chandlar.
And we're met with what's her name? Xandar, right?
Zendara.
Sindara, which is
Yeah,
she's
Zendara, which is Xavier and
Xavier's
Melandra's child.
kid.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Apparently, that was already canon for like a year
Y-
or so now, or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
they made that canon.
yeah, that was like a thing. Like they have a kid, and she's like grown up and stuff. Well, I guess she's in her teens, but I didn't know about that. I was like, what? That was like kind of a crazy moment there for me, where I'm like, no shit.
Right.
That really
But,
caught me by surprise. I was like, okay.
but we cut to Oracle and or
Men-
Mentor.
Mentor and
Yeah,
Oracle.
Mentor and Oracle. And she's just like, these are complicated. You don't understand what's going on. And she's just all like, and then we find out that war's kind of like creeping up, more or less, right?
Yeah, they say that the war with the Titans, which I think they mean like the planet Titan with like where the like Thanos comes from and like
Yeah,
those people. I think that's what they're talking about.
Eternals. They're talking about the Eternals.
I believe that's what they. I'm not following a lot of the space like mythos of like the current like Marvel stuff outside of the X-Men, so maybe they're having like issues with the Eternals, because that's what I when they say the Titans,
I
I assume that's what they mean, but maybe there's something else. Like maybe they mean the Greek Titans. Who knows? This is Marvel we're talking about.
Yeah,
It could
this
be
could be
it could be
anything.
a lot of things, but since they're saying it's an empire, and I know Titan is a place in space that is in the Marvel space mythos, that I think that's what they're going at. And they've denote that like time is no longer the luxury, and that they were trying to groom Xandra for taking the throne later on after Kalark, but apparently since things are getting hectic and they're on the brink of like civil war in places, they need to consolidate the power of the throne, and that's why she's being brought up to up to bat. But she has reserves about it. She's just like, and that's what I was talking about earlier, is like everybody acknowledges the Shiar Empire is in no better hands than Gladiator. Like he's
Yeah.
the strongest, the most determined, the most loyal and just paladin of the empire, because he when he led the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, like he did everything for the empire. He only rebelled when things got out of hand and went too far, especially when
Yeah.
Vulcan was the one running the throne and all that nonsense. But when
Oh,
Decane was in charge, even if Gladiator didn't like it, he still did what he said until like he supported the Landra, but once she got on the throne, then it was like, all bets are off, and he's like totally like, all right, I'm 100% behind like the Empire again. So people respect him and they acknowledge his history and like the way he's displayed his honor and his nobility. So she's just like, what do you want me to do? Like, how am I going to replace you? Even though she is no mega level mutant in her own right. Like I
right.
looked into it, she's got Charles powers, but on a galactic scale, which is what? Like, I
Right.
knew that Charles could tap out through like the ethereal plane and like going into those kind of ways, or not ethereal plane. What is it with the psychic plane of existence?
The astral plane.
Astral plane. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know he could go through that and like talk long distances, but apparently she could just like straight up. She's like Charles, but with a radius of the universe.
That's insane. She could
Yeah,
just broadcast to everyone.
yeah. And she's Shiar in the race. Like she's the
Yeah.
Shiar race, like the Avon
She
race.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they have their natural abilities that come with that too. Like they're stronger. Straight up in the wiki, it's like they lift like a ton of Earth's gravity. They can lift in Earth's gravity. They can lift up to a ton in weight. So that's pretty impressive in itself. But the big thing is because of her lineage, and that's really what it comes down to. Is it's not anything. I don't think really even like due to the fact that she's part mutant or any of that, which is like an interesting thing to note, because remember in the future in like House of X and Powers of X, the majority of the mutant population is in the Shi'ar Empire.
Hmm.
And this is like a lot of the preluding of that. And that's
Yeah.
pretty much what that comes down to, is like you're not going to get any better of a beginning than right here. Like that birth of the mutant empire is coming with her taking the throne and her stepping in, following in the bloodline of her mother, which is a royal bloodline.
Right.
The Namar is it the Nuramani? Nuramani
Your
is like,
money.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the royal, that's Lalandra and Deathbird and Decane and all those people. And that's what this is this is political, this is like a political doctrine in truest form. Gladiator's like, I am amazing. I am great. I am like totally like, Red Sun Superman, like when he was born in like the Russian Empire, and he's like, when
Yeah.
Stalin dies, you know who's better, who could run Russia better, or the USSR better than me? No one. So I'm gonna run it. But see, that's not Gladiator. He doesn't have that level of arrogance. He knows when to
Right.
step down and like play politics. He could run it, but he wants to avoid civil war, bloodshed, and fighting. And he's like, you know what? You have the royal bloodline. You have that, ancestry. So I'm gonna put you on the throne because this is what's needed for the populace and moving forward. Plus, he wants to play more of a strategic hand, being, leader of the Imperial Guard again. He wants to be that royal advisor from the Imperial Guard, while the Nuramani sits on the throne to continue the family bloodline, because then it's not contested. It's like,
Exactly.
just with other history, other historical moments. You look at like bloodlines being fought over, and civil wars being averted because certain people can get behind a royal bloodline easier than they can a usurper. Always, that's just always how it's going to be. Even if the usurper's great, it's still, you're going to have a lot of that lineage to fight through, and this
Exactly.
smooths that out. It's a good political maneuver. It shows why, how well of a leader Gladiator really is, and
Yeah.
it's definitely the oh shit moment of the whole fucking book. I was just like, oh, Charles has a kid, and Charles's kid is the
Yeah.
the Lamandra. She's the leader of the Imperial, or the Shi'ar Empire. What's happening? Like, there's a lot to digest. I'm like, wow, this is like
And yet,
way more interesting than any of the other shit.
and he emphasizes lineage and blood because we're going to see it's alluding to the fact that it will be contested by these royal bloodlines, because we cut back to the New Mutants walking into this bunker, I guess, or like weird trailer satellite like
It looks
lab thing
like a
going.
little satellite outpost, like a little like small
Yeah,
bunker outpost. Very very low key, almost like a science station.
and they're meant to meet a person in here,
Yeah, then you find out what
and
their secret mission is.
they find out what their secret mission is, and we get a dagger, a lance thrown at the New Mutants, and we find out it comes from Kelsey Naramani, aka what is her name? Deathbird.
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 Such a metal
Yeah.
name.
Wow. It is right.
Landra's
Deathbird.
sister,
Yes.
Xandra's aunt,
Aunt.
Auntie
Auntie.
Deathbird.
Auntie Deathbird. She allied with Modoc at one point, didn't she?
She did, and she also that was the thing is she was a plot device during the rise and fall of the Shiar Empire.
Yes.
The whole reason Vulcan got the throne is because he married Deathbird, and then
Yes.
due to that was able to
Usurped her.
instate himself as the magistrate or magistrix of the Empire because of her lineage. That's how powerful that lineage is. He's a mutant out of nowhere, just coming in like, "Hey, I rule your empire because I'm banging Deathbird." And
Yeah.
they both became prison buddies. That was the funny thing is they got locked up in like the crazy Shiar Galactic prison, and he broke out and found her, and then was like realized who she was, and then they plotted together to like take down Lilandra and take over the Empire. And so now they're trying to avoid that though. They're doing this is deeper into like you said. He's talking about Gladiator's talking about the problems with lineage and a
Yeah.
lot of the bloodlines. So what he's doing to circumvent that and try to avoid these problems again is he wants to bring her Deathbird into the fold and use her to kind of mentor and be a direct advisor to Xandra as a way to try to counteract that infighting. You know, you keep your friends closer,
That's
enemies
close. Yeah.
closer kind of situation. And that's a brilliant maneuver. Like that totally makes sense. The problem is I don't know how well Deathbird's gonna play along with that. On
Dude, she's
paper,
not
it
gonna
sounds like
play along at all.
yeah,
Kidding
she's
me?
gonna try and usurp like she's gonna try and dig her freaking talons, you know, pun intended, like right into this. Like she's literally gonna try and take control of it because that's always been her mentality. And she was too much like Decane. She was too power hungry, too her nobility and her lineage got to her head, so it made her kind of have a megalomaniac god complex, or I guess you could say like an infallible leader complex. So
She
it's
does.
interesting. It's
She
interesting concept, but I don't think it's gonna play out.
No, she even states, who else but the most savage, duplicitous, and truly violent person would be best for such a political task? So that line alone shows she's not gonna be, because she's referring to herself, the ego, maniacalness of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't gonna turn out well. But as she is espousing this kind of pompous, audacious talk, we get he gets Sunspot, and he's
Here it
just
is.
like Sam, and he's just like, yeah, I think I'm in love.
Jesus, it was so fucking perfect.
It's
I was
so
like, and that's
great.
how you end it. That's how you end
And
New Mutants. Like
that's how you end an issue, because that
Jesus.
is the end of the
Hickman.
issue. Man, what a great moment. What a great moment,
I
though.
think of love.
God damn it, Sunspot.
Sitting on her fucking her throne made of stone, sitting there with her hand arched up in the air after she threw her like her sectum javelin of doom. Like it's so man, what a very metal way to introduce her to fucking Deathbird. I like that. I like the Deathbirds in this. I like the Gladiators in this, and more of the Imperial Guard, and just good times.
It was good. It was funny. It had great moments, great timing, great pacing.
Yeah, the comedy was all perfect because that's a big key in comedy is timing. That's what they say is like the foundation to a lot of jokes.
Exactly. Oh
And
yeah.
the timing and the speed and pacing on this are all on point. Like some of
Spot.
the weird like character developments and like canonical problems are there to kind of cause their issues, but none of that breaks the timing and the pacing at all.
Yeah. It's great. I enjoyed this. And it's like you said, it's just like you hit the ground running and it keeps going, and then bam, it ends, and you're just like, this is one of them where, like, even though we're following these very juvenile kids, I'm like, all right, well, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah, exactly. Like their weird displacement in this universe does not stymie or even roadblock any of the progression of the story.
No.
Like that greater Shiar story and those other little subplots with the Starjammer and like the King's Egg, all that stuff is still flowing along. So it's like
Exactly.
we're all still in the same ballpark moving forward, and it's great. I really love New Mutants. I'm just as excited to read the next New Mutants, as I am for X Force, and that blows my mind.
That is kind of crazy. What was your favorite moment in this issue?
Oh, I guess I would have to say the most exciting moment would be the reveal of Xandra and like her place and all that. But I'd have to say like the moment that just gave me the most joy was probably, I have to say, the end with Bobby and his one liner like
This one,
that pretty much was that left me on such a high note and such a positive note that it really like any of the lower stuff of the rest of the issue, any of the negatives were immediately just overshadowed, eclipsed by that moment. Like that moment really just came away from it with me and stuck with me heavily. I laughed about it. I just kept thinking about it over and over again, and the place and how it fits in the greater part of the issue, and it just is the perfect bookend. And I think that was the most brilliant part of the entire issue, is to end it on that note.
yeah. Do you think Chambers just here to make Mondo not feel as bad? Because Mondo just seems to be here to be a walking MacGuffin.
Yes, and yeah, the Chamber's confusing because he almost seems like he's older than everyone, but he's Gen X, so he should be younger.
Yeah.
So it's I don't I So I don't know if it was Cebulski or if Hickman's head of this, and he's just one of the people in charge who are really like an old school fan of like Generation X, was like, let's do a Generation X issue. And then people were like, ah. And then it started to become like a reality where they're like, yeah, nobody wants a Generation X issue. Like, no one gives a shit about that stuff. Like, who cares? And why would we want to bring that back, in like modern time? Like, it's 2020. So what are we going to do? So this is like the one little nod where they're like, well, let's just bring Chamber, you know. But see, he's weird because we have Jubilee and he's from the same, age group and the same demographic. She was a Gen Xer and she seems adult. She seems older than all of these people, which makes no
Yeah.
sense because how does Jubilee come across as more mature than the New Mutants who
Right?
predate her by like a decade?
Insane. I don't get the tone sometimes, or I guess the maturity of these children.
Yeah, their
It's,
their character like weight is loose in the universe. Like it doesn't feel like they're weighed. They hold close to the ground. Like they're not
mhm.
grounded. They're just like at any moment they could float away because they're so loosely defined. Like their history and who they are. They almost feel like props and less like people. You know what I'm saying with that? Like the whole concept of how like they're just there like a palette that just works for the story. They don't really feel like the actual characters themselves that have
Mhm.
aged over the years. Where Scott still has that, even though he feels weird with like some of his like son father dynamics that he's playing. That still doesn't make him feel like he's like a kid again or any of that stuff. I don't know. I feel like this is just another one of their attempts to like create a youthful group based off of the older groups, like what Bendis was doing with the all new X-Men, where they were kids again because they're time displaced.
Yeah,
Like this is them just skipping the time displacement. And they're like, just fuck it, we'll write them younger.
I guess so.
Yeah, they don't even want to like even bother with like a narrative plot device. They're just like, we're just gonna do it, and maybe no one will notice.
Mm,
And they're trying to pull in a lot of new readers to this X-Men arc, so I think that's what they're banking on.
It definitely works better than the movies that tried to pull this shit.
Yes.
You get away with that with comics. You can't get away with it an actor that's like 27 and he's supposed to be 50.
What do you mean?
50.
What do you mean? Casper Van Dien playing Johnny Rico in Starship Troopers? You didn't believe that that man was only 17? Are you telling me that that 36-year-old man didn't look 17 to
30.
you? Jesus,
uh,
Kyle, I don't understand at all.
uh,
I mean, you can do it NPH. I mean, he was ageless at that
true.
time, but still, like, there's no way. Yeah, that just isn't gonna work. But yeah. We'll see. I have my worries for the New Mutants movies, just like I have for my New Mutants comic. But luckily, the New Mutants comic is almost a backdrop to all the other like fucking crazy Marvel space stuff. So I'm
Yeah,
fine. Give me more cosmic nonsense and just have the New
exactly.
Mutants there, then that's fine.
I am okay with this for sure.
Yeah, because
Uh,
Hickman writes cosmic events great.
he
So
does.
yeah, let him do it. And he's sneaking it in because this isn't even like the main storyline to the X-Men stuff. This isn't at all. This is a tangent. Yet it still kind of harkens back to it and has its own contained progression.
Yeah. What do you think about Gladiator's decision to ultimately bring back Deathbird
That's gonna
and
probably come and
Fulcrum?
bite him in the ass, but he has people like Oracle and Mentor watching his back, and it seems like Gladiator, though, can be fooled or misled. In the end, he knows how to make the right decision to fix everything. So let's see where this goes before we can make any real definitive judgments. I want to see a few more issues of this playing out before I can just be like, yeah, Gladiator, you made a dumb decision. You should have been on top of this quicker. I mean, she's not like Magneto where he's clearly reformed, or Apocalypse where you're just like, it seems like he's trying to do the right thing. She's just outright like, Deathbird, I'm gonna rule things. Like, there's no gray area with her right now, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. You think her being half human will have any effect on her reign? I don't think they matter. They're all about like if as long as it's like the lineage and it follows the
Yeah, as
rules,
long
we're
as
good.
there's a nod to the lineage, and she is
Right.
Lilandra's proper like offspring. Like there's no,
Yes.
yeah, and their dealings with the mutants have been going on for a while, so that could have a negative impact in that sense because of like going back to the fucking Phoenix, like wiped out an entire planet in their sector. So like what 6 million, 8 million like citizens just dead, wiped out instantly. So there might be that, like they might be like, but she's part mutant, and they're gonna have a stigma in their galaxy. And what was it? Vulcan just like usurped Lilandra before and took over the entire empire and like forced them into a war they didn't want. So there might be that kind of bad blood, but I think because Lilandra was such a prominent and iconic leader and led them to a lot of like unifications and like advancements in their society, I think that might be her strongest bet. And with Gladiator giving her the nod, I mean, people respect him. So I think in the political infighting sense, if they can corral Deathbird, which I don't know how that works, but if they can, this all seems like on paper it'll play out pretty well, and the Shiar Empire will be stronger because of it. But since it's like kind of in Deathbird's MO to plot scheme and overthrow, we'll see that if it gets reeled in or if that just plays out like how we expect it. Like this could be Hickman kind of setting us up, like giving us a bit of a red herring, like, oh man, Deathbird's totally gonna fuck everything up. And then like when it comes down to it, she's just like, you know what? I always wanted to be an ant. And she just like kind of mellows out and like does the right
Yeah.
thing. Like that would be total shock. So this is Hickman we're talking about, and he does like
Yeah.
to subvert expectations.
He does like to do that. That is for sure. Didn't Vulcan and Deathbird have a kid at one point?
I don't know about that. I don't think that ever happened. I do know they were hooking up and they were like getting down and stuff, but I don't think they
Yeah.
ever had a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good issue overall. Again, my biggest complaint is when they take the liberties too far with the art, and you're just all like, "This looks like a kid did this."
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
it's funny because it's a contrast. Like you can look at it and say instantly, like, "Wow, this is really good art," and then in another page you go, like, "What happened here, though?"
yeah. So that's my
Uh,
biggest gripe so far, but everything else is a small gripe. Considering the rest of the artwork is a hit, I am not concerned at all. At all, the pacing's good. I dig it. I dig the fast pacing because I just want to see things happen, and I don't want to be caught up in like I guess their own insecurity. That's one thing I like is they're carefree. They're very carefree. We're not caring about like, well, I wish I didn't do this because now I hurt my friends, and now we're talking about how I hurt my friends. And
They don't. It's not like a CW episode, and they're hamping up the melodrama for like 3-4 issues, and then you're just like, someone just punched someone in the face.
Yeah.
This, they're like, all right, here's a couple face punches. Yeah, there is no nonsense in this pacing, and it is quick, fast, and all over the place. Like, I love it. I love the no bounds. I love that just like we're just like bouncing from the Starjammers, the Imperial Guard, to now other parts dealing with Deathbird, and then they they slipped in the fucking Brood into this, so it's like, oh man, we're hitting on all cylinders with like X-Men space exploits, X-Men space shenanigans. It's gonna come to a tipping point. It's gonna come to literally like they're building. It seems like they're building towards like a kind of Ocean's 11 style tipping point where everything lines up. I guarantee you the Starjammers will be back.
Oh yeah.
They realize that thing has been swapped out. They've been
once they figure out what the egg is nothing. Yeah, they're going back.
The egg is a lie, just like the cake.
Yeah, everything's a lie, and it's all the Starjammers' fault. Any other things you want to mention about this issue? Anything that stood out? Anything that made you go, wow, look at that. That's a good job.
I mean, not to just always wank Hickman, but like I said, we had our gripes with like a few things here and there, and then there were some on the art end, there were some on just like the character development end, but those are just the small critiques for the sake of critiquing and having like a devil's advocate approach. Overall, I'm 100% excited to read issue 3. And that is the big takeaway from this, is that I am continuously excited to read more New Mutants, and that is a shocking fact within itself.
Seeing Bobby, Sam, and Smasher together is pretty cool. That was cool when they were doing stuff in the Avengers run too, which was Hickman's Avengers run, I believe.
Oh, okay, so this is kind of like a little throwback to his little plot devices that he built off of with the Avengers and the X-Men Fallout from like going even further back.
Yeah, it was Avengers, New Avengers, one of those, but they tied together. Yeah,
that's cool.
That was cool. Yes, and feel free to jerk off Hickman anytime. You make that man come when you jerk him off, good sir.
I take him to completion. That's what I do. I don't leave him hanging.
Yes.
He leaves me satisfied, so I try to do the same.
Yeah, come on now. You don't want to be like Tom King. You don't want to blue ball him. And
oh God, Tom King blue ball. He deserves all the blue balls he can ever get. Oh man, that dude's got some premature problems right there. That's you know what? He blew his load quick, where he's just like, I'm gonna start right Batman. I kill Alfred. He's just like, whoa,
handle it.
It's a slow burn with that one. What are you doing?
Yeah, Tom King got a hot girlfriend, like one that's way above his league, and he's just like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, he tried to like appreciate her, like not like overplay his hand, but then when things moved on, it's like, I'm gonna hand this girl off to the next guy, and he's just like, I'm gonna wreck this shit. Yeah, I'm gonna abuse her. It got dark. I was just like, I'm not into this kind of porn.
But that'll do it for this week.
This week on Tom King's Batman.
Tom King's Batman. That'll do it for Podcast of X this week. I'm Kyle. I'm not Danny. You're Danny. We're on Instagram. We're on the socials. Send us a message on Anchor if you're on Anchor. And next week we are hopping into X-Force issue number 2. Are you ready for that one?
Oh, yes, I am quite excited for that one. That one is awesome.
Yes.
Ooh, we got all that build up with that nonsense with Charles getting shot and like them going to try to figure out what's going on with Domino, and now we get to see the playoff. We get to see Wolverine do what he does best. Like, you're gonna get iconic Dark Phoenix saga, like Wolverine picking himself up, ready to fuck up the Hellfire Club kind of Wolverine. So get ready for that.
Get ready for that, folks. But that will do it for us this week. Catch you later. Remember, the robots are going to murder you. They might even probe you. I don't know, but probably murder you. Regardless, it ends in death. robots or not. So look forward to that, folks. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, we are going back through our classic episodes and uploading them onto YouTube in what we are calling Podcast of X Classics. So be sure to be on the lookout for more classic episodes. And be sure to check out freespeechgeek.com.